Hey there, my fellow designers and creatives. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the second video in this mini series on advanced prototyping. In this video, we're going to go ahead and look at the phone number input animation. If you haven't watched the previous videos, make sure to watch that because this is going to be a continuation of that, right? So we've selected our country and now we want to go ahead and enter our phone number. So you can tap on the phone number and you can enter whatever you need. So let's say I enter a random number like this, and basically we go ahead and we activate the button when we reach 10 characters. Now I can still type in more characters, but that will limit the number of characters to 10 digits because India's phone numbers have only 10 digits, right? So this is what we're going to be creating. Now, the reason this is going to be really interesting is because if I go ahead and reset this, and if I choose Germany instead, Germany has 11 characters, right? So this time when I type in 11 digits, so let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it doesn't activate like it did with India. But if I add another one, which is 11 digits, it takes that and then it goes ahead and activates the button. So depending on the country code, we are determining the logic of what should be the maximum number of characters, right? And you can then click on send code, which we're going to see in the next video where we go ahead and go to the OTP screen. So in this video, we're going to focus on the phone number input. All right, so let's get started. So let's actually understand what is happening. Now, this is the first state. And once we have selected the country, we can tap on the input field over here, which is basically the placeholder, and that is going to bring up the keyboard. It's also going to move this to the top, and we're going to get this cursor indicator as well. Now for the country picker, we used a modal, and basically what that means is if I were to show you this, you can see that we basically on click, we opened up an overlay. But the problem is that we cannot do that for the keyboard, mainly because we have this element also that moves. We have things that state change over here, and we should be able to tap in this area. But when we have an overlay, we can't tap on this area, which is why we have to use smart animate, right? This has nothing to do with Figma Variables. This is pretty basic. Okay, so we bring in the keyboard when I tap on this. Okay, as you can see over here, we bring up the keyboard, and then I can tap on each of the digits, all the 10 digits that we have, and that's going to start filling this up. And we want it to change the state of the button once we hit a limit. Right now, if I choose Germany, we will enable users to type in 11 digits. If they chose India, then we show 10 digits, right? So we want to go ahead and create that interaction. So let's get started. So we're gonna come over here, and I'm going to make a duplicate of this, right? And we can play around with everything over here, okay? And I'm going to move this also over to the left side over here so we can focus only on this, okay? So we have all the prototypes. Everything is great, fantastic. Okay, so now what we want to do is, in this case, we want the keyboard to move up and we want all of this to move up, right? So which means that we have to transition between two particular screens because we have two different states, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this. I'm gonna come down over here and paste this over here. And now we're basically going to transition over here, okay? And what that basically means, we need to take this keyboard and we need to move it underneath this, all right? So we move it all the way to the down, all the way below, so it's no longer visible. We have to use smart animate for this, all right? And that is looking pretty good. Now here, we also need to use the variant that we have, all right? Because this one is in the inactive state and this one is in the active states. Now in this case, because we are using smart animate, we can go ahead and use the other variant, right? So I'm gonna copy this, come over here and paste it. All right, and here I'm going to change this to active, okay, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this, okay. So now, as you can see over here, when we transition from this to this, we're going to see this state, right, and not the original state, and obviously all this is going to transition, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come over here, click on the phone number, go to prototype, I'm going to click, and then on click, we're going to go ahead and navigate to, we're going to navigate to this screen, which is the pin active screen. So I'm going to search for pin active. Now we have too many screens over here, so I would rather just do it simpler like this. All right, there we go. So we navigate it over here. Perfect. Now, obviously, is this going to be a move in? Absolutely not. This is just going to be a smart animate, and 250 milliseconds is fine because we want all of this to transition. All right, and we'll go ahead and play this. So click on that, click on the phone number, and then this moves in perfectly, right? So let's try that again. Yeah, there we go. it's perfect. Now we also want to go ahead and make sure that when I tap anywhere on the outside area, anywhere over here, we want it to transition back to the previous screen, right? So I'm just going to click on this, the entire frame, all right, create a transition, turn this up, and instead of saying navigate to, I'm just going to go ahead and set it to back. Okay, so now let's see how that goes. So I can click on this to bring up the keyboard. Everything moves perfectly. When I click over here, the keyboard goes away, right? So I click on this, right? So this animation is perfect. This is the main thing. This is what we have, right? Awesome. Now maybe we can go ahead and also set this to be a little faster. So maybe we set it to 200. I think maybe 100 seems to be a bit slow. Yeah, 200 seems to be better. Yeah, amazing. Perfect. Looks good. Now we can go ahead and start entering the digits. Okay, so now again, let's use English. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy one of our logic text layers over here. Put that over here. Now, I'm only going to animate the number 1 because once we make the entire animation for number 1, I'm just going to copy all of that and paste it for all the other digits, right? But we're going to make it only for the number 1, right? So let's say when I click on a number, okay, what do I want you to do? Now, the first thing that I want you to do is here that this state is actually the active state. But what we actually need is, if I come over here, we actually need the filled state, right? Because I want you to do this. I want you to change it from this state, which is the active, to the filled state, all right? And I want you to input the number 1, right? So the first thing is change the state to, or maybe we're going to say set to filled state, okay? So go ahead and add the blue color, set that to filled state. Also print 1, okay? So here I'm going to use the word, we're going to say 1, right? Or, yeah, right? So when I click on a number, or let's say when I click on 1, let's do this. When I click on 1, set to filled state, okay? I'm going to say set input field, okay, to filled state. Maybe this is a bit easier to understand, okay? And I want you to print 1. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to start off by clicking on 1, going to prototype, and I'm going to click on plus. And when I click on it, I want you to go ahead and set a variable. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the state, okay? So set variable of what? We need to change this input field to filled. We don't really have, variables defined for this, right? We had set the variables for Germany and India, all right? As you can, if you see over here, we had set that to Germany and India. We had set the variables. If you see over here, you can see that we had a variable, but now we have to do the same thing for this. So what are we going to do? So what I will do is I will start off by coming over here and defining a variable for each of the state. So come down to local variables, okay? And I'm going to create a new collection because it's easy to just manage things. So create a new collection. And here we are going to say phone number input, okay? And I'm going to create 4 variables. Now the thing is that we may not need 4 variables. We may just need probably 1 variable, right? So the reason I'm saying that is because we are only changing the state of this from active. We are going to change that to filled, right? So let's just create 1 variable and then see if that works, okay? So I'm going to come back over here and here in the input, I'm going to create a new variable. Now we are going to choose a string, okay? And here I'm going to say phone number, I'm going to say active, right? And the default value, all right? So let's just go ahead and copy the same thing. So here I said default value text state, okay? So I'm going to say default value text state. Here I'm going to say active, okay? And I'm going to leave that as it is, okay? I'm going to click on this, and here we're going to change it from the active, which is in the dropdown, to active over here in the phone number input section, okay? Perfect. So this looks fine. So now I'm going to click on the 1 again, go here to the variable. So we want to change what? First, we want to change the input field to filled state. So click on the target variable. This input field, okay, the state of this, which is phone number active, whatever it is, whatever is the default value, I don't really care. change that to filled. So if I tap filled, which is FILLED, okay, and I hit enter. Now this looks really weird because it looks like we're changing the copy of the text layer. But basically what we're doing is we are changing the word active, right? So if I click on this, you can see we're changing the word active to filled. So because the state of the component is also attached to the word active, when you change the word active to filled, it is also going to change the state as well. Okay, so let's check that out. So I'm going to come over here, press Shift spacebar, and I'm going to click on plus. I'm going to click on this, and then you can see that the state gets changed, right? It gets changed to the active state, which is basically this state, right? So before it was inactive, this is filled, and so it gets changed to filled, right? Now, of course, if you want, you can go ahead and create a new string and call this PN filled, okay? And here you can call this filled, okay? And we can still make it work. So click on the one, come over here, and here I can change that to PN filled, right? I can use variables and it is still going to work. So we can check that out. Click on this, click on this, click on one, and it is still going to work, right? So you can either choose to go ahead and create a variable, or to keep it simple and not have too many unnecessary variables, you can just call this filled, and that should also, perfectly work. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete the variable because I don't want unnecessary variables over here. Go ahead and choose delete variable. Okay. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to print one. Okay, so that means that we need to change the copy of this to 1. Now, we have to go ahead and assign a variable to a text layer, right? Now, we don't want to change this text layer. This text layer, all right? Maybe if I go ahead and reset all changes over here, this text layer is the placeholder, but then this text layer is the actual phone number. So these are two separate text layers. These are not going to be connected to each other. And this is in the active state and this is in the filled state, right? So now we have to assign a variable to the filled state because here I wanted to say 1, right? I want to select this text layer. But the thing is we don't have that text layer over here. Like we don't really have that text layer because this is in a different state altogether. So which means I will then now have to come here to the master component. Maybe just copy this and we can bring that over here, okay? So that it's easy to see. Okay, and I'll click on this. This is the actual phone number and apply the variable over here, okay? And let me repeat, the reason I'm doing it over here and not in the instance is because I don't have this state. This state changes in the prototype and we are not having two separate flows like this, right? So that means I have to come here and change it in the master component because I don't have any other place to apply that variable, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a variable and here I'm going to add a nub string. Now, here again is a question, should we use a number or a string? Now, when you look at it, what we are changing is the phone number. It's not a unit of measurement. A phone number is not like number of digits or number of characters or kgs or centimeters, right? It's a plain text layer that we are changing, right? Which means we have to use string, okay? So here I'm going to say phone number, okay? And what we want is the default phone number. We want it to be nothing. Just keep it blank. Now, what that means is when I come over here and select this phone number and apply, as you can see, the text here is phone. But if I change that to phone number, which is blank, the text layer, as you can see, is still visible, right? But the problem is now the value is blank, okay? So now what you can actually do is it's totally left to you, right? You can come here and you can call this phone number and that will change over here. Or you can just say PN and that will change over here. Or you can say 0000, right? Whatever it is. Whatever is the default value doesn't matter, right? So I'm going to go ahead and call this phone number. Okay, let's keep it like that. And then over here, okay, we're going to come back over here to our variable. So the first thing that we did is when I click on 1, I want you to set the variable of PN active, which is the input field, set that to filled. This is the first thing. The second thing is we want you to print 1. So what does that mean? We're going to come over here. We're going to create a new we're going to create a new interaction, which is set variable. We're going to change the phone number, right? So set the variable of the phone number, whatever it is. It can be called Chetan, it can be called design palette, it can be called India, it can be called 0, it can be called 1000, whatever it is, I don't care. Set that to 1. Okay. And now what you have to do is you need to have these quotes, right? For it to be recognized as a text layer, or else it's not going to work. So you click on string literal and you're going to add these 2 text layers, right? This is basically what I did the same thing over here. Okay. And then you click away. So now let's see what's happening. Come over here. And then I'm going to click on 1. And as you can see, 1 gets added over here. But when I want to tap on 1 again, nothing happens. The reason is because we gave the logic, right? If I come over here and say, it said the default value, it was phone number. When I tapped on it, it changed to 1. So now the new value is 1, or the new text layer, or now the copy is 1. So it is changing from phone number to 1 the first time. The second time I tap on it, it is changing from 1 to 1. Okay. Now what I'm trying to say is if I come over here and apply the same thing over here, copy this and apply it to the number 2. Okay. And here if I set it to 2, okay, let me show you what's happening. I'm going to start again. It's changing from phone number to 1. And when I tap on 2, it's changing from 1 to 2. When I tap on 1, it is changing from 2 to 1. Right? It's just replacing. But we don't want that. We want it to continue adding it. Okay. So what that means is if I come over here and let's remove this number 2, go to the 1. Okay. Here what I'm going to say, whatever is the value of the phone number or whatever is the text or whatever is the copy. Okay. I want you to take that and we're going to say plus. We're going to add. We're not really adding as such, when I talk about mathematics, this is just, adding another character, right? So I'm going to click on plus and then I'm going to say 1 and then I'm going to click on this. Okay. So now we say that whatever is the previous value of this phone number variable, just add 1 to it, right? Don't replace it, just add 1. Okay. So now if you play this, click on 1, what it's doing is it's taking the value which we had already defined, which was phone number, and then it is saying 1, which is not what we want. We just wanted to say blank 1, which is why now we have to come over here in the variables, and from phone number, we can't call it phone number anymore. It just has to be an empty field. Okay. So now let me click on this, press close this and play it again. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and shrink this a little bit so we can see it. Okay. And now I'm going to click on 1 and you can see 1 gets added over here. Now when I click on 1 again, you can see it adds on. So basically what's happening is if I come over here and you show you this, okay, what's basically happening was before it was blank. So it was blank plus 1. And now it was when it changed to 1. So it's going to be 1 plus 1. And here I'm going to tap another time. All right. So it was 1, 1 plus 1. Right. And now it is 1, 1, 1. And then we're going to add and just going to say plus 1 to that. Right. Now, what's going to happen here is if I keep tapping, you can see it's going to be like an infinite number. I can tap in as many as I want, but obviously this is not the case that we want, right? Which basically means that now we have to set a logic, okay? And the logic is pretty simple, okay? So if we were to come here and take an example, okay? So let's say I have this instance. Let me just remove this text layer. And here I can type in, let's say 11-digit number. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right. So here we have, let's say 11 digits. Okay. So what that means is now we can rechange this, right? When I click on 1, set the input field to the filled state, which is fine. Print 1, but only if the number of digits is less than 11. Okay. Which means now we have to put an if statement. Okay. So when I click on 1, okay, if the number of digits is less than 11. Okay. So if I come over here, I'm going to set this to white. Okay. If the number of digits is less than 11. Now, what does less than 11 mean, right? So 0 is less than 11. Okay. 10 is less than 11. Okay. Which means that if the number of digits is 10, I want you to trigger this interaction, right? But if it is 11, right? If it is equal to 11, then do nothing, right? Because the maximum number of digits we want is 11, okay? So now we have to go ahead and apply this if statement to the number 1. So I'm gonna come over here, come to prototype. Now we want to put these into a conditional, right? Because we want the if statement. So I'm gonna click on the plus and I'm gonna say conditional. And we already know that the actions are going to be this. We already created those actions over here. So I'm gonna just just drag that and put that over here under action, and take this also and put that over here under action. But now we have to set this if statement, if the number of digits is less than 11. Now, of course, we don't really have a variable for that, which means we need to create one. Now, number of digits is a unit of measurement. It's not text layer. It is a unit of measurement. So that means we now have to create a number variable. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say number because this is the unit of measurement. We're going to say number of digits is, the default is going to be 0. We can't really change it to blank, right? It has to be 0, right? It's a number. It has to have a number. Okay, done. Now, if I come back over here, click on this, click on here. If the number of digits, and we have so many options over here, is less than 11. Now remember, this is Germany, so 11. So if you're doing it for India or for your country, you want to change the number, right? If it is less than 11, then I want you to change the state of the input field to filled. And I also want you to change it to 1. So by default, the number of digits is 0 and it satisfies this condition. So if the number of digits is less than 11, which is 0 in this case, then I want you to perform it. Okay. So now let's see what happens. So I'm going to click on 1. Okay. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now 10 is still less than 11. So when it is 10, if I tap on it, it adds the 11th digit. But if I tap on it again, it still continues to keep adding. Why? Didn't we set the logic? Well, we did set the logic, right? But the logic is still broken because if you come over here and we look at this or look at our variables, we never really assign number of digits to anything. We have to assign it to something, right? So what that means is we need to create some text layer which is going to have this number of digits, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and make a duplicate of this, okay? And this is going to be like our invisible layer, right? And I can reduce the opacity of this so that we can sort of see it over here, okay? And I'm going to maybe just place it right over here, okay? Or maybe over here, doesn't really matter where. I think maybe, I don't care, it doesn't really matter. And here in the copy, we are going to apply a number variable and say number of digits. So now that becomes 0. So every time I tap, it is going to go ahead and register this as a tap. So is this complete? Is this enough? We don't know. Let's keep checking it out. Okay. So now we have applied a variable. So I'm going to come over here, click on this. Okay. So now I'm going to click on this and say 1. But when I say 1, you see, it doesn't change over here. Like nothing happens, right? This is just like a variable because we need to tell here that when I click on 1, let's say 1, if the number of digits is less than 11, but the number of digits is always 0. We need to increase the number of digits. We need to set an interaction for that. We need to increase this from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. Only then will we know whether it is less than 11 or more than 11, right? Because by default, it is always 0. This is not going to change. We haven't set an interaction to change this value. So we'll come over here and say, when I click on 1, if the number of digits is less than 11, then do this. But I also want to say, when I click on 1, okay, the conditional is one of the actions, okay? Increase the number of digits by 1, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and change all of this to be white. This also to be white. Maybe I should just add like a variable style to this, should be easier. Set it to white, right? So when I click on 1, I want you to increase the number of digits by 1, okay? Just increase it by 1. Here we are doing mathematics. And then if the number of digits is less than 11, do this, okay? Now we don't have to put this in an if conditional, right? We wanted to register the tap as a tap, right? Irrespective of what the number is. I'm just tapping. So every tap I do, keep registering that and keep adding one every time I tap. But if the number of taps are less than 11, do this. If it is more than 11, then don't do anything, right? So that's the English we're trying to follow. So what that means is if I come back over here to 1 and I click on the prototype and click on this, right? So we set the conditional, right? If the number of digits is less than 11. But now we want to create a new one, set variable. The other one has no conditional. It's just a direct action. I want you to take the number of digits, okay? And now since this is a number, we have to use mathematical operations over here. I'm going to take the number of digits, okay? So understand what's happening. You set the variable of what? Set the variable of the number of digits. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter to us. Whatever it is, it can be 1 million also. Just go ahead and set that to whatever the value it is plus 1. Okay? So if it is 5,000, take 5,000 plus 1. If it is 10, take 10 plus 1. If it is 0, you do 0 plus 1. What we are doing here is selecting what is the target, right? And then we are saying the target value plus 1. Okay? So now, when we come over here and we play this, when I press on 1, you can see that this changes to 1. And if I tap again, it changes to 2, it changes to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Now, 10 is still less than 11. So which means the condition should still work. So if I tap on 1, you can see it adds another digit and we have the number to 11. Now, if you look at the logic, okay, let's look at the logic, okay? If the number of digits is less than 11, in this case, the number of digits is not less than 11. The number of digits is equal to 11. This should not happen, which means we should not add another digit. So if I tap on 1, you can see no digit gets added, but this count increases because we are going to keep increasing the count no matter what. I don't care how many times you tap. You can tap 1,000,000 times as well. I will register 1,000,000 taps, but I will not increase the number of digits over here, right? So I can tap how many ever times I want. You can see this keeps increasing, but then this gets limited over here, right? Because when I tap, in this case, let's take an example, right? When I click on 1, if the number of digits is less than 11, what is the number of digits? It's 25, okay? Which is not less than 11. It is greater than 11, which means that it will not trigger these actions because the condition is not fulfilled. Okay, perfect. Now, what that means now here is that now, if the number of digits is 11, we also want you to change this. Okay, now let's try to understand over here. When I click on 1, we increase the number of digits by 1. Okay, if the number of digits is less than 11, we do this. But what if the number of digits is equal to 11, right? So if I come over here and I copy this, or maybe I'm just going to copy this. If the number of digits is equal to 11, all right? So maybe I'm going to change the color over here so it's easy for everyone to see. So this one, we're going to make it, maybe we're going to change it to green. And this, we're going to change it to green as well. right? So if the number of digits is equal to 11, if this is 11, then I want you to change the state of this button from inactive to active. Okay. So now what that means, obviously, because we're changing states, we need to have components for it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and grab this. Okay. Come over here. I've already put this into like a container. I'm going to click on this, call it button container. I'm going to create an instance of this. All right. And yeah. So we're going to change the color of this to the active state. We have that already over here. And we're also going to change this to be black, 100%. Okay, cool. So now all we got to do is I'm going to click on this. I'm going to say active. All right, right. And here, it doesn't matter what we call it because we have to add a Boolean property, right? Very similar to what we did in the previous video over here where we changed the states. If I show you one, you can see we added a Boolean property over here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to prototype, or actually variables, create a Boolean property, all right? Now, what is the default? The default is false, right? And this is going to be called button. This is our main button. The default value is false, okay? So I'm going to select this, okay? And of course, we want to bring in the instance over here, okay? And I'm also going to set this from default. We're going to go ahead and set that to Boolean. Did we not add it? Let me quickly check again. Oh yeah, it seems to be there. I think maybe we need to change the copy over here. So here I'm going to say false. And here I'm going to say true. Let's see if that works. Oh yes, yeah, now it works, right? We need to make it a switch first, and then I can choose false. I'm going to copy that, come over here and paste it, move this down. And yes, that's about it. So now what we also want to do is over here is if the number of digits is equal to 11, we're using a conditional over here. Okay. What I want you to do is, let me change this to white, change this also to white. Okay. If the number of digits is 11, set button to active. Okay. So we take this, we take the button and then we set that to active state. Okay. The button is going to become active if the number of digits is 11. Okay. So let's go ahead and create that. So I'm going to click on 1. When I click on 1, and maybe I want to say here, when I click on 1, okay, I'm going to apply a color over here. So when I click on 1, okay, we set the conditional, we set the variable, and now we're going to come over here and select another conditional because we have this. If the number of digits is, okay, take the number of digits. If the number of digits is equal to 11, okay, then select the button. So we're going to change the state, which we're going to set variable of the button, whatever it is. I don't care if it is on or off. I don't really care. Just take whatever state it is and set that to true. Okay. And you can click on this. Okay. So now we have done this as well. If not, then don't do anything. Just leave it as it is, right? So let's look at this. So let's go ahead. Click on this. I'm going to start tapping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now it's 11. The state changes. Perfect. But now check this out. If I tap on 1, it triggers 12 and the button here maintains that state. Now, one of the most important things here is the order of the conditionals. And let me explain what I'm trying to say. So if I come here and click on this 1, okay. Now here we have the first conditional over here, which is number of digits is less than 11. Then we have increased number of digits by 1. And then we have this other conditional. Now, if I take this conditional, if I follow this order, right? If I just select this and move this up, okay. What Figma is actually going to do, it's going to perform these actions in the order you set it in, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this order right now, okay? So I'm going to set first increase the number of digits by 1. And then if the number of digits are greater than 11, do this, okay? And if the number of digits is equal to 11, do this. So it's going to run the conditions for this first, then it's going to run the conditions for this first, and then it's going to run the conditions for this, right? So it's going to go in order. Now let's see if this condition this order actually works, right? Let's actually check it out. So I'll come over here and I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, if I tap on 11, it should register. Okay. And as you can see, it didn't register, right? So if you see over here, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It didn't allow us to add that other digit, right? But still here we counted an extra digit and here we enabled it, but we actually have 10 digits. We're supposed to have 11 digits because we changed the order, right? So let's understand what's actually happening over here. Okay. So I'm gonna come down over here and let's click on 1. Okay. Set to this. Okay. So let's look at a default value and then after you tap. Okay. So the default value is equal to 0 digits. Okay. Let's keep that in mind. Okay. Set this to. Now, the thing here is that now, since the default is 0, when I click on 1, I want you to increase the number of digits by 1. Okay. So here, okay, action 1, where is equal to the number of digits is equal to, or maybe I'm just going to do this, right? Number of digits is equal to 1. Okay, it was 0 and now the number of digits is equal to 1. And action 2. Now the second action says if the number of digits is less than 11. So it's going to go and now check at this state. What is the number of digits? The number of digits is 1. And is 1 less than 11? Yes. So that's correct. So now I'm going to say print 1. Okay. And action 3 is what is the number of digits? The number of digits is 1. And is it equal to 11? No, it is not equal to 11. So here we say do nothing. I'm just going to keep it like that. Okay. So maybe instead of saying default, I'm going to say current state. Okay. So I'm going to take this and maybe we're going to change the color of this to be blue. So now if I come here and tap on 1 again, now the number of digits is actually 1. Okay. And I'm going to remove this and I'm going to remove this and I'm going to remove this. Okay. So now the new current state is we have 1 digit is equal to 1 digit. So let's run it again. So now when I click on 1, we increase the number of digits by 1. Okay. We just increase the number of digits, which now becomes 2. Okay. If the number of digits is less than 11, what is the number of digits? 2. Is it less than 11? Yes. So we perform the action, which is we go ahead and set it to print 1. Okay. And here again, number 3. Is it equal to 11? No. The new number of digits is 2. Since the new number of digits is equal to 2, which is not equal to 11, we're not going to do anything. So we're just going to leave it blank. So when we repeat this, and now when we come to a state where we have 10 digits, okay, we have 10 digits, okay, I'm going to remove this, and remove this, okay. When you have number of digits, okay, which is 10, and at this state, when I click on 1, increase the number of digits by 1. Okay, we'll go increase the number of digits by 1. So now the digits become 11. Now here is the problem. If the number of digits is less than 11, do it. But in our case, the number of digits is 11. So it won't do anything because now the number of digits is equal to 11. And because this condition is not being fulfilled, it is not going to print 1. So it's not going to do anything. Then it is going to the next condition. Is the number of digits equal to 11? Yes, the number of digits is equal to 11. So then it is going to set button to active. And that is the reason when we click on this, and maybe we can prototype this quickly again. Okay. And maybe I show you over here. Okay. Let's come to this current state. So I'm going to go to 10 digits. Okay. So now the number of digits is equal to 10. Now when I click on it, the first thing that it does is it changes the number of digits to 11. And now the number of digits is 11. Now the second action is because the number of digits is 11, it is not going to pass this condition. And so it doesn't add a number over here. Now, one of the ways to fix it is if we go ahead and we say if the number of digits is less than 11 or equal to 11. Okay. I don't know how to get that sign, so I'm just going to do this. So is less than 11 or equal to 11, right? Let's see if that works. Okay, so I'm going to click on this, come over here to prototype. And if I choose this order, I have to change this from is equal to 11 or less than 11. So less than or equal to 11. Okay, if I choose this order, now if you see over here, now since the new order is less than or equal to 11, current state 10 digits, number of digits is equal to 11. So is the condition set for the second action? Yes, it is, because the number of digits is equal to 11. And then now I'm going to go ahead and print 1. And now because the number of digits is also equal to 11, I'm going to set the button to active. So now let's see if that works, right? So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, if I tap on 11, you can see it finally registers it again. And then it also changes over here, right? So depending on the order of the action, so if I come over here and show you again, you will have to tweak the values over here. It's very important to understand the ordering, right? So if I come over here, maybe I can, this is better. So if the number of digits is less than or equal to 11, print 1. But if the number of digits is only 11, then you do this. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to copy this and apply that to all the other numbers over here. But before we do that, we want to set another conditional. What is that? It is that if this is not 49, if this is a different country code, which is India, for example, which is +91, India has only 10 digits. So which means we need to limit that to 10. Okay. So how are we going to define that logic? Okay. So I'm going to move this all over to the side. We're going to come over here. This is going to be a reference one. And I'm going to play around with this. Okay. So when I click on 1, I want you to increase the number of digits by 1. Just increase it automatically. I don't really care. Okay. No condition for you to increase the number of digits. If I click on it, you increase the number of digits. No conditions, no strings attached. But if the number of digits is less than 11 and the country code is +49, okay. And let me go ahead and just change all of this to white. Then do this, which means we can go ahead and duplicate this. If the number of digits is less than 10 and the country code is +91, okay, then do this, which now means that we also need to trigger this as well. So if the number of digits, right? So let's say we make a copy of this and we come over here and paste it. If we set this to 10, if it is 10, it's going to set it to active, even though the country code may be 49, right? Because we are setting that logic. So what we have to do is say, and the country code is 49, and the country code is 91. All right. If it is 10 digits and 91, then set it to active. If it is 11 and 49, then set it to active, right? Because if we don't add this, if the country code is plus 91, if we don't add that, then the moment the number of digits hits 10, because if we don't have this, for example, if the number of digits hits 10, even if the country code is 49, it is going to show it. So I have to say, show the button only if it is 10 digits and the country code is plus 91. And if it is 11 digits, we can probably we don't even have to probably show this, right? So now let's build in this as well. Okay, so come down here, click on 1, okay, come down here to prototype, and now we're going to create another conditional. So we made 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so we're going to look at the order later, but for now, let's just go ahead and create the conditional. Okay, so I'm going to create a conditional saying, okay, if, or actually before we create one, we can just edit the first one that we have, right, which is this. If the number of digits is less than 11, I can click over here and I can press spacebar and enter and, okay, and it automatically creates a conditional for you. And the country code is 49. Now, where do we get this? Now, what is it that we are going to refer this value, which is what the default country code, right? I'm going to choose default country code, right? So it's not allowing me to do it, but let me just quickly show you. So if I come over here and we look at this, this text, you can see that doesn't seem to have a variable. If I check over here, yeah, this seems to have it. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just click on that and I'm going to say default code, which is plus 49. So there we go. That's great. Okay. And now we're going to go back and apply that conditional. So if hide everything else. So if the number of digits is less than 11, okay, and the default code, okay, whatever it is, I don't care what the default code. If the default code is what is equal to Germany's code, what is Germany's code? Plus 49, okay, then do this. And we need to do the same thing over here, okay? So we want to add a conditional. Now, unfortunately, I can't copy this, which would have been really cool. So we'll have to recreate it from scratch. So I'm going to say conditional, okay? And I'll move this up, right? Let's put them together so it's easy to see. If the number of digits, okay, is less than or equal to 10, okay, and the default code is equal to the Indian code, which is plus 91, then do these actions, right? So what is the first action? It's basically the exact same thing. We take the phone number, so we set variable, we say actually not phone number, we need to set the phone number active state, okay? Change that to the filled state. Let's try that again. Filled state. That's one thing. I also want you to print another one, right? So I'm going to click on, click here, okay? Also going to set print variable, which is basically set the phone number to phone number plus 1, right? If you see over here, we're just replicating this exact thing. We're just replicating the exact thing, just the if statement is different, okay? Now here, let's look at this, right? If the number of digits is 10. So if I come over here and I say to the 11 one, or maybe we can, let's create a new conditional, right? We don't have a conditional for the 10. So conditional, okay? If, we already have the if. So if the number of digits is equal to 10, okay? And the default code, which is whatever it is equal to plus 91, and plus 91 is India's code, okay? Then I want you to set the button to active. So we're going to take the set variable, we're going to select the button and set that to true, okay? So it's basically this and this, okay? So now let's just test what we are doing, right? I have the exact same order over here. So as you can see, number of digits, we set the increase number of digits. This one is if greater than or less than 11, greater than or less than 10. Here the number of digits is 11. Here the number of digits is 10. I'm following the same order. Now I don't know if this is right or wrong. We have to test it. Okay. So let's come over here. I'm going to click on this, press Shift Enter. Okay. So, or maybe I'm going to start over here. Okay. Because this is the first one. So I'm going to click on the phone number and it changes it over here. And for some reason it goes ahead and calls it placeholder. I'm going to call this phone number. There we go. So let's try again. There we go. So click on this. There we go. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now it should register another one, 11. So yes, it registered the 11th digit, added 11, and send code is also active. And I click on it. The numbers keep increasing, which is what we want, but then nothing changes over here. Perfect. This is working absolutely fine for us. Now let's try again. This time I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change from India plus 91, and it's going to change that to plus 91. And now when I come over here, we can only accept 10 digits. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Now when I add 10, it should add 1. So I'm going to click and it added that extra 1 digit. Here it changed to 10 and it says send code. Now it should not allow me to add another digit. Let's see if it works. If I click on 1 again, it becomes 11 and it doesn't add that extra digit. Okay. There we go. So if it is plus 91, we show only 10. If it is 11, if it is plus 49, we show 11, which means that this order is perfectly working for us. Okay. And we don't want to change anything. And now with all of this, what we want to do is we want to select this, copy this, come over here and paste it on all the other numbers that we have. Okay. And just press Ctrl V and it pastes. And the only thing you need to do, and this is a little bit of a manual work, right? So you can pause the video if you want. I'm going to go ahead and quickly change it. I'm going to show you one. So here, the only thing that we need to do is we want to change here, right? So the print, we're going to change that to 2. And also over here, we are going to change that to 2. Okay. This is for the button, so we don't have to touch it, right? And I'll come over here. I'm going to go ahead and quickly change all this. I'm going to see you back in a second. All right, so I've gone ahead and changed the print values for all of these numbers, which means we should be able to enter any phone number. So let's check it out. Okay, so I'm going to start just tapping some random numbers. So I'm going to say 5, 7, 4, 8, 9, whatever, doesn't really matter. So we have 9 digits, we have 10 digits, and this is Germany, so 11 digits. I'm going to tap on 0 and it gets added over here. I tap on any other number, nothing really happens. All right, so this is perfect, working perfectly fine. Let's try for India. I'm going to change this, or maybe we do it over here. So come over here, click on this. We're going to change that to India 91, and I can enter any number. So let's say 80, 245, right? And now I should add the 10th digit. Let's say add a 3. So 3 gets added. We see 10, and then we see the button is now says send code. If I tap on 4, it does register the tap, but it doesn't show anything over here, right? So basically what I did is I just took the number 1, pasted all of that, and then just changed the print value to print the appropriate number, and the condition still holds good, right? So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comment sections down below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more amazing, awesome content. And I'll see you guys in the next video. So take care and bye-bye.